located at Stanford University. The appointment requires Senate confirmation. Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe remains bullish on the state legislature passing a bill to ask voters in November if they'd approve replacing the state income tax with a revamped sales tax.
Take a teacher at a $40,000 a year salary. The initial reports we've looked at, and we'll get this better for people as we move forward, would actually pay a hair more in sales tax, but would save almost double in what she pays or he pays in state income tax.
Kehoe told KMOX's Hancock and Kelly it would be a gradual phase out of the income tax and gradual escalation of sales tax if passed by voters. From the KMOX business desk, changes coming to St. Louis Lambert International, the airport rolling out clear e-gates. With these new gates, Check Plus members will be able to verify their identity in under 5 seconds, bypassing TSA and going directly to the physical screening area. More than 30 airports across the country have already launched the gates and say they've made the travel process more efficient.
Sunshine mixing with clouds, brisk and bitterly cold this afternoon, high 19. Mostly cloudy early tonight with a passing flurry. Some clearing and bitterly cold late tonight, low 3. Tomorrow, more sun than clouds, a cold wind and a high of 22. Sunday, some sun followed by increasing clouds and cold with a high of 30. There could be a bit of snow or flurries late Sunday or Sunday night, mainly north and east of the city. From the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Joe Lundberg on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Sunny skies now, 18 degrees in Florissant, 20 in St. Peters, and 18 downtown at the Arch. I'm Megan Lynch, KMOX News.
Weather sponsored by Renner Garage Door, forward and back, RENNER.
Cardinal Cowboy here. Renner Garage Door has you covered. Renner's been turning garage doors from zero to hero since 1966. RennerDoorSTL.com.
RENNER. This is the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX. Sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The genuine, the original. Now the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Gashouse Gang.
On a Friday. Oh, okay. We're both starting.
Well, I said, so James O'Sullivan is producing here in our studio, and I said, I guess Matt's leading, but I don't know. And he said, well, I don't know. You just lead if you want to. And I was like, all right, well, I don't really want to, but somebody's got to. So here we went. And then I should have trusted you, Matt. I should have trusted you.
I'm here. I'm ready to go. It is great to have Nate Gatter alongside. I'm Matt Paul. There's a buzz in the air for a little game that's going to be going on tonight over at Chaffetz Arena, and we're going to talk a lot of SLU basketball. We'll get into some Cardinal baseball, a little City SC. But Nate, it's always good to talk to you. For those who are watching on the stream, they see that you are fully ready to go for tonight's game, rocking the SLU jersey.
I am totally ready to go. This is James asked me actually when I got in the studio. He was like, whose jersey is that? Or is there a name on it? I was like, no, but I think based on when I got it, I would have been in high school, so I think this is technically a Kwame Mitchell jersey. Okay. So we're throwing it back a little bit. I've had this for a long time, but that's the beauty of no name on the back is that now it's a Trey Green jersey. So we're ready to rock and roll tonight. I cannot wait. I was thinking to myself actually today, I don't know the last time that I got out of bed in the morning and I was really buzzing about a game like this. And this excited to go because my wife and I are going to go. I think I talked on these airwaves back around Christmas when they were doing the 9 for $75 deal, when they were saying you could get the rest of the A10 for $75 a ticket. I was like, anybody who's not doing that has no idea. Like, this is going to be the best deal they've ever done. And I could not be more thrilled to have done it because I've been just having a blast going down. This is the most I've gone to Chaffetz probably since I was in high school. And we had season tickets or half season or something like that during the Majerus era. And it's so much fun to be there. I had a blast on Tuesday. Even the place, it was rocking, even though it wasn't really that close to sold out. It was probably, I don't know what their announced number was, maybe 8,000-ish, give or take, 7,500, something like that. It was rocking, and Josh Schertz talked about that on the post game. Obviously it's going to be a sellout tonight. With a chunk of that will be Dayton fans, which is always an annoying part of this game. But this is going to be a really fun experience this evening. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this in the next segment, but I'll throw this out at you. And in fact, if people want to chime in, if you're watching on the video stream or if you want to text in at 314-436-7900, I was thinking this is the hottest game to be played in St. Louis since. And I won't give my answer, but I think the three things that you put on that list is Cardinals, Phillies in the wild card series in 2022, maybe the Blues last year in the postseason, some of those home games, and maybe the first game ever for City SC at home.
Yeah.
Those are the three that jump at me. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in our second segment, but would love for folks to chime in. Again, you can, for those of you watching on the video stream, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you can leave a comment in the chat. You can text into the program as well at 314-436-7900. That's 314-436-7900, because there absolutely is a buzz. I've talked about it a lot lately. The social media algorithm that at least I have, a lot of national folks taking note of SLU. Josh Schertz has done some national interviews here recently. It seems like the college basketball world outside of St. Louis has started to take note, and obviously folks in the St. Louis region know as well. We try to start with baseball more often than not on the program, and I kind of had to chuckle knowing that you were going to be on today, Nate, because I know one of your stances, and I don't per se disagree with it outside of the fact that I want the games to be fun and competitive this upcoming year. But as you have mentioned multiple times, you're not overly worried about veterans getting what happens this year with them and what the record is. Like, this year is about rebuilding. This year is about getting guys ready. And then yesterday, and Kevin and I talked about this a little bit yesterday on Rush Hour Sports. Yesterday, the good folks over at Fangraphs put together their latest ZiPS projections, and they'll do this again before the season gets started. So if the Cardinals traded Brendan Donovan, if the Cardinals add a right-handed bat that can play in the outfield, it will adjust to that. But I found it to be interesting that the Cardinals have a ZiPS projection of 77 wins, and nobody's throwing a parade for a team that's going to win 77 games. It's a fourth-place finish based off their projection, only in front of the Pittsburgh Pirates. But I do find it to be interesting in a world that we're living in right now where so many people are convinced that this is going to be a 90 to 100 loss team. Some of these projections that are pretty good, and these models know what they're doing, have the Cardinals maybe a little bit better than what those outside voices like to say.
And I want to be clear, because I don't think that you misstated any of my positions. I hold those positions. I will say, just for clarity's sake, I am not opposed to the Cardinals winning games, even if that means they're just winning 77 instead of 70. On the one hand, maybe it's better to, get the better draft pick, though that's kind of muddied up now because of how the lottery system works. I think in the abstract, even if, and maybe especially if, they're giving a lot of at-bats and a lot of innings to younger guys, it is important to try to have a culture of competitiveness, at the very least, to have an environment where they're coming to the ballpark every day, every series, feeling like they have a chance to compete and to win. Right? I don't think it's productive, even if it got young guys 600 at-bats. I don't know that it's the most productive thing in the world to take 600 at-bats for a team that wins 55 games, right? And to sort of get introduced to the major leagues in that kind of environment. Not that I think there's a real risk this Cardinals team only wins 55 games. My point is just that I think if you come up into an Oakland A's type environment where it feels almost like you're a traveling team there to fill out the circuit, you know what I mean? Like you're the Washington Generals of Major League Baseball. How does that serve anybody's development, mentally or physically, or over the long term in becoming playoff winning, ultimately World Series competing players? You want guys who are getting the right competitive mindset from the beginning. So in the abstract, if we're talking about a Cardinals team that could give the same runway to the same guys and either win 70 games or win 80, I mean, winning 80 is better, right? I have no problem saying that. I am not at all opposed to winning. The only thing I'm opposed to is taking away from the future in order to try to go from 74 wins to 78 wins this year, right, which ultimately serves nobody. And so if saving more money now means more winning later, or more importantly, if just keeping more space open, more at-bats, more innings for younger guys serves the future, I'd much rather lose a couple more games this year and serve the future.
Yeah, and I think in hindsight, we can look at what the team has done over the last few years, and that's exactly what they did. They brought guys in that helped them be a 500 club instead of 10 games under 500. Going specifically to 2023, when you're looking at a Lance Lynn and a Kyle Gibson being brought in, guys like that, and it really slowed down this process that they are trying to get into now. That doesn't mean I'm against them going out and signing a right-handed bat who maybe is a little bit longer in the tooth. It's good to have a veteran on the team. It's good to have some balance on the team with so many lefties. But to your point, Nate, making sure that you don't have a lot of those guys on the roster, that it slows down development. And I don't think I really believe in Chaim Bloom's belief and structure when it comes to development. I think guys are going to be rushed to the big leagues less now than they were before. Not that this organization has never been one that really rushed guys, but you don't hear President of Baseball Operations talk that often about wanting to make sure that guys kind of check all the boxes at AAA before getting to the big leagues, and that seems to be something that's important for Bloom. So one thing I'm not worried about is, for whatever reason, whether it's rushing a guy to the big leagues or whether it is bringing in a veteran player that's going to take at bats away from a young player, I'm not questioning right now their ability and their desire and their intent to make sure that development, both at the minor league level and still at the major league level, happens the way it's supposed to happen.
I agree. I feel more comfortable and confident in, we've talked about this before, that the Cardinals know what their direction is, that they're committed to it, and they're taking those steps properly. I feel more confident in that now than I have since the Cardinals were a World Series contender. To me, under the previous regime, and this is nothing, not taking anything away from John Mozeliak or even really from ownership. Under the previous regime, though, I felt only confident in that when they were competing for the World Series. I only felt comfortable and confident that they knew the direction and that they were going to consistently take steps in that direction every day, when that direction was, we have a chance to win a World Series, or at the very least to win the division this year. And what we're doing is all about trying, not necessarily sacrificing the future, but augmenting the team with the idea of squeezing as many wins out of this roster this year as we can. Because I think John Mozeliak was good at that. To your point, in a vacuum, I don't think the Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson deals were necessarily bad. Right? It just didn't serve the interest of that team as well as I think maybe one of them, maybe not both, so you have a veteran guy, but you're not eating up so many innings. Now, they didn't have a ton of other options, right? That's part of it, too, is like that we've talked about this at length, that their development of pitching in the minor leagues was not where it had been before. And so it's not as though they had three guys at AAA who were ready to be major league starters and whose innings were getting taken away by Gibson and Lynn. It's probably somewhere in the middle. My point is just to say I feel more comfortable and confident with the Cardinals' direction right now than I have in quite a while. I have a lot of trust that Chaim Bloom is committed to that process and that the Cardinals are going to that they've identified the main thing this year has to be development. They supposedly identified that last year, I think, with mixed commitment. This year, they have re-identified it with a greater commitment, and I think they're going to keep the main thing. And whatever might be done, to your point, whether that's delaying bringing a guy up, whether it's bringing in a veteran, whatever, those things are only going to happen in the interest of development, and they're not going to get caught up on whether it's 74 wins or 78 or 81 this year for the Cardinals.
Yeah, and last thing before we get to a break on this, I think you're spot on in what you just said. I think sometimes the Cardinals right now they've got more clear communication and explaining what's going on and what they're doing more so than we have seen in a very long time, if ever. And I do think, Nate, sometimes fans almost apply the John Mozeliak era standard to what's being said. Because if Mo would have gone out and said the words, we're focusing when we've got decisions to make, and if it's long-term versus short-term, we're choosing the long-term option. Well, that's this extreme statement that you never heard spoken from that regime. So it feels like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 100-loss team if they're saying things like that. Where when Chaim Bloom says that, it's just what it is. I think you can just take it very much at the surface level, and it doesn't have a more extreme meaning. So I would remind fans that listen to the words that are coming out of this regime's mouth and don't apply the previous regime standards to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And the other thing that stands out to me in that regard is that I wonder if Chaim Bloom ordinarily, it can be a difficult thing to take over when things are not going that well, right? In theory, you would think if you're taking a job from somebody, wouldn't you rather? I mean, think about it in coaching circles, right? Most of the time, if you're a college football or basketball coach and you're getting a new job somewhere, it's because the prior guy was fired, right? Probably things weren't going very well. Wouldn't you rather take over for a guy who just retired or took a better job because things were going great and he's got a good situation? And I think in the abstract, maybe you would. Intuitively, maybe you would. But there is some benefit, especially from an executive standpoint in the position that Chaim Bloom's in, to coming into a situation where people around the city and the fan base are frustrated with how things are going, because I think he's going to be given a certain amount of good grace here to find what he wants to do. To go through a losing season this year and maybe one more if necessary before things started to ramp up on him in the way that they were perpetually ramped up on John Mozeliak, right? People were frustrated enough, and I guess maybe I shouldn't say people. Maybe I should just say I, because that's what I can say with 100% confidence is I was frustrated enough that I am welcoming, even if it means a 70-win season, I am welcoming this change of pace, this new direction, and this level of transparency and commitment to that direction, regardless of how it goes this year. I feel so relaxed. It's like just a wave of relaxation has come over me, feeling like, okay, there's a plan, and there's somebody in place who is trusting that plan and is going to see how this goes for this year and is then going to be continually evaluating it and pick when's the right moment to start to ramp this up in terms of the commitment to winning right now relative to winning in the future. And obviously we're speaking about all these things in generalities because that's just the stage of the offseason that we're at. Everything is kind of out there in general terms rather than breaking down a season game to game, week to week. But I am filled with long-term optimism, and I think part of that is because Chaim Bloom took over a situation that had become so frustrating and had so much toxicity in it as a result, and so he gets to be sort of the breath of fresh air.
That's Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. It's going to be a Billiken blizzard tonight at Chaffetz Arena as SLU, really the eyes of the college basketball world upon this game and another big game tonight. There's just one of two really big games this evening. We'll talk about it. And just for the St. Louis sports community, how big of a game is this and how important of a moment is this for this basketball program? We'll discuss that in just a moment as we roll on with the Gashouse Gang right here on KMOX. are able to do it. And that is that's another part of this, because he's probably going to be up for a pretty solid compensation increase in the very, very near future.
Yes, that's certainly true. And it's funny. I think you could argue that one of the worst decisions the university has made in the last decade is giving Travis Ford that very, very big extension. But in some ways, it goes to prove what we're talking about, which is that the resources are there. If the demand is there, if the will is there, the resources are there to find big money to extend a coach, especially very big money by A-10 standards to extend a coach. And, not to do Josh Schertz's agent's job for him, but I hesitate to think of a number that would be too high to justify, or that couldn't be justified by what he's done in just a season and a half in charge here in St. Louis.
Hey, the more you get paid, the higher you can make the buyout. And that keeps people there sometimes. So give him as much money as you possibly can and keep him in St. Louis as long as possible. I've seen it, like, just watching social media. It is already starting to happen, Nate. I am starting to see people attach him to potential job openings that are out there. And it would be nice if that just had to be something that we didn't have to. We go through that with Eli Drinkwitz every year. We don't have to go through that with Josh Schertz every year.
And I'm going to tell you this. And this is not anything against Eli Drinkwitz, and I'm a Mizzou. I have 2 degrees from Missouri institutions. Neither one is from St. Louis, so I have no reason to be biased one way or the other here. If anything, it would be to be biased toward Mizzou. I think Josh Schertz is probably 2 to 3 times as good a coach as Eli Drinkwitz is. I think Josh Schertz is one of the 10 or 15 best coaches in America, and he might be better than that. He is truly an elite basketball coach. And the fact that he is in the A-10, the fact that he's at SLU does nothing to change that. If you offered me a straight trade of Josh Schertz for any other coach in America, I'd have to sit down and think about it to make the list of how many I would do. It would not be very many. I would expect I could count them on 2 hands, maybe on 1.
Interesting. That's Nate Gatter. Strong take from him. We are going to continue to talk Billikens basketball assistant coach Zach Bovair is going to join us in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. It's the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Hey guys, Dave Glover here from the Dave Glover Show. So, what is my show? My show is 4 different people living 4 different lives, all coming together every day between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. to talk about life, actual life, not so much headlines or did you see what Trump did today or XYZ. Never predictable because I never know what I'm going to talk about from one segment to the next. So it truly is unique and unpredictable. Join us.
104.1 FM, KMOX.
Soulard is going to the dogs. Make sure to bring your 4-legged friend to the streets of Soulard for the 33rd annual Purina Pet Parade, the world's largest costume pet parade. It all starts at 12th and Allen, Sunday, February 8th at 1 p.m. And KMOX's own Dave Glover will be leading the pack as the parade's Grand Marshal. Sign up today to march in the parade with your dog. The event supports Open Door Animal Sanctuary. For more details, PurinaPetParade.com. Don't miss this annual St. Louis Mardi Gras tradition, sponsored by Purina.
Now, KMOX weather from the Saliga Heating and Cooling Weather Desk.
It's 18 degrees in downtown St. Louis. Feels like 23. Winds of 8 miles an hour. Tonight, snow flurries are possible. Low of 4 degrees for a Billiken blizzard against Dayton. That's the St. Louis weather on KMOX.
Fairwinds River's Edge is more than a place to live. It's a place to belong. Come see why we have been voted Best Independent Senior Living Community for 4 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. We think you'll like it here, and the experts agree. Come see us for yourself. Call to schedule a tour and complimentary lunch, or to learn more about our upcoming App University that can help enhance your everyday life. Find us online at fairwindsriversedge.com.
Hey, St. Louis City SC fans, mark your calendars now. The Boys in Red return to Energizer Park to kick off Season 4 Saturday, February 21st. And you could be there for the dawn of a new golden era of St. Louis soccer. Go to stlcitysc.com/tickets and reserve your seat now for the MLS home opener versus Charlotte FC. Limited quantities remain. See you soon, St. Louis.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
SNL Coin. We buy gold and silver coins, silver and gold jewelry. Also buying gold-filled and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL. 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
It's men's Billikens basketball action tonight as they take to the court to take on Dayton. Pre-game 6:45, tip at 7 on your home for Billikens basketball. KMOX.
It's the Gashouse Gang. It rolls on right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. Nate Gatter is here as well. It is a Billiken blizzard tonight. So much excitement, so much anticipation for the Billikens and Dayton coming up this evening, and we're very happy to welcome on to the program. He is an assistant coach with the Billikens men's basketball program. He is Zach Bovair. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time. What's the excitement level inside of the program for this big game tonight?
Man, it's the excitement level within the program, but even within the city, it's cool. I was walking my dog earlier, and it's fun. By the time I got to the end of my street, I had already heard 3 go Billikens, so it's really fun. And the people are very excited about this matchup, and, obviously our guys, it's going to be a fun one tonight, at 7 o'clock going against a really good, rival in Dayton.
Coach, we'll get to Dayton in just a moment. Let's first talk about that Tuesday night game at Chaffetz against George Washington, a tough team that played well. They had a really good game plan for you guys, it seemed like, and made your lives very, very difficult in the first half. They led by as many as 15 points, but you guys remained calm. What was the message? What was the vibe at halftime in those huddles early in the second half when you guys were down double digits in, continuing to plug away and ultimately coming out on top?
Yeah, Coach talks a lot about getting to zero, and he talks about a zero mindset of, being able to reset yourself and just, we took their punch and they came out, and GW is a really talented team that's really good, that's a lot better than, their 4-4 record. And they threw their punch and we go down 15. And frankly, Matt and Nate, that's a spot we hadn't been in this year. We hadn't trailed by double digits all year. Our biggest deficit in conference play was just 5 points. And so really our guys hadn't been exposed to that kind of adversity yet. And, we went to the locker room. We made a couple of adjustments with our game plan, not major ones. It was more about doing it better rather than doing it different. And, our guys came back and responded and really showed unbelievable resilience with their backs against the wall.
Coach, now that you've done that, is it good you get the win. So I know you don't like it in the moment, but once you come out of it, you've got the win. Is it good to have that in your back pocket, that your team now knows what it takes and the experience of being able to come back from a double-digit deficit like that?
Yeah, I really do. I think, when over the course of the season, you're gonna taste your own blood. You're gonna get punched in the mouth a bit. It's not all going to be knife through butter. It's just not. This league is too good. The coaches are too good. The players are too good. Through an 18-game season and then the non-conference and, hopefully getting to the levels we want to get to in the postseason, there are going to be challenges. And I think when you as a group meet those challenges together and then rise up to the opportunity, rise up to the occasion like we did with Trey Green's shot making there in the second half, kind of carrying us and keeping us in contact, and then Kellen Thames burst, and then obviously Robbie finishing things off with the 2 threes late. I think when you go through those experiences together, I think it strengthens you the next time you see it. And I know that sounds like coach speak, but I truly do think that's the case.
Zach Bovair, St. Louis Billikens assistant coach, is with us. Coach, just one more on Tuesday night against GW. I know that not every team in the A-10, maybe nobody else in the A-10, has a guy quite like Rafael Castro at 6'11" and his ability to cause matchup problems. At the same time, I wonder, how much do you think that the way that GW attacked you guys, trying to isolate that side and create issues man-to-man, whether it was him trying to go by a bigger guy like Robbie defending him or trying to back down the way he did when Deion Brown or Ish Sharma were on him, how much do you think that's the kind of tape that other teams try to emulate and force you guys to deal with that sort of one side of the floor isolation?
Yeah, and that's where, good coaches, we're all thieves. Because I'll tell you this, we're looking at stuff that worked against Dayton, and we're saying, hey, can we implement some of that within our game plan? So, there's certainly that we're going to see some of that. And really, I think that's where, Coach Schertz is so good at the idea of a self-scout, of being able to assess where your team's at. Because if you are paying attention to the competition, if you're paying attention to the patterns and the things and the trends that are happening, then the competition is going to reveal things that you need to get better at, things that you need to develop. And Coach Schertz is so good at diagnosing problems, as they arise. And so we're going to have to deal with that within conference play. And now I'll say this, I don't know how many teams have a player like Rafael Castro I have the utmost respect for, or frankly, I don't know if there's a team in the league that has the depth of talent that GW has. And really, I think they're the closest approximation to a lot of what we do, both offensively and defensively. So that's, that is, that's of course, is a factor in it all. But, we need to, the idea remains the same in that if we are the same team here on January 29th that we are, come March and when we're playing in Pittsburgh for the Atlantic 10 championship, we're not going to be good enough. We have to continually get better. And that's the Kaizen approach that Coach brought with him to the first day he arrived in St. Louis, and something that is a program we really embrace.
Coach, it's a big game tonight. How do you guys as a coaching staff straddle embracing the bigness of the game while at the same time not making it too big and realizing it is still just one game on what's a long schedule?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge it, because I'll say this, your players aren't dumb. You can't just say, hey, this is just any other game, because frankly, if that's the case, when we got to practice yesterday, they were saying, hey, what are the 10,500 white T-shirts laying on each of these teams? So, you have to embrace the height of this game. It's a great rivalry, and, hey, I'm my second year here at SLU, so I'm, just learning, the history of this rivalry and the Archbishop, and the cup, and, all of that goes into it. And, Jordan Air Jet was giving me some history lessons yesterday at practice. So I feel like I'm slowly indoctrinating myself in this rivalry, but you have to embrace the rivalry. And we say this to our guys, two things. One is, these are the kind of games that you came here to play in. You don't come here to play in game. You want the stadium filled. You want 10,500. You want, hey, when we go back to Dayton, you want 13,000 screaming at you. So that's part of why you came here. And the second thing we talk a lot about, and this will come up today, is we want to play with emotion. We don't want to play emotionally. So we want to play with great emotion. We want that to come out with our urgency, our communication, but we don't want to be emotional and reacting to every single play.
Coach, just to give people a little bit of a preview tonight of the game against Dayton, one thing that stands out with them is leading the conference in steals and having the best turnover margin in the league by some distance as a result. I felt like you guys got it under control late on in the game on Tuesday, but there was a period in that, especially early to mid stage of the second half, when the turnovers were starting to pile up uncharacteristically for you guys. What, if anything, is the message to, again, play with aggression, but take care of the basketball against a team that is opportunistic in that way?
Yeah, and it's the number one key is we got to take care of the basketball. We have to limit turnovers. Dayton is a team that thrives on those turnovers, and it's such a big part of their defense. And then, really, to your point, it's such a big part of their offense. It's such a big part of how they get going, and and being able to both turn you over and keep you from scoring, but then stimulating their offensive attack and really allowing them to play in the open floor. So that is by far, key number one tonight is taking care of the basketball, because it both directly impacts our offense and our defense. And, we've gone through waves of that at times where we've been better than others at times. I think any SLU fan listening to this, just hearing us talk about turnovers, they're getting PTSD from our late game against Duquesne. So I apologize for that. But the way we play, I'll say this, the way we play, the speed at which we play, the freedom which we give our guys, are we ever going to lead the conference in fewest turnovers? No, because just frankly, we want guys playing with freedom. We want guys playing without doubt in their minds. But we know in order to get to the heights we want to get to, we have to be better in the possession game. And a big part of the possession game is making sure we're taking care of the basketball and we're not turning the ball over.
This is probably stuff that people like me and the media talk about and maybe you don't care about, but I'll ask you nonetheless. They come in on a 3-game losing streak. Does that almost make them more dangerous, just in the sense that they're a lot better than a team that's lost 3 in a row here?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, listen, Anthony Grant team is always going to be well prepared and ready for it, especially in this rivalry. They're going to be ready to go. So, hey, we talk a lot about having appropriate respect for every opponent. So, like, if we think Dayton is going to come down and lay down because they've lost 3 in a row, we're crazy. So we do have to think about, like, hey, this is a desperate team. What's my guy Bruce Springsteen? Don't mistake desperation for courage. So we have to understand this team is going to come, with backs against the wall, and they need this win. And so it's going to create an unbelievable, with the fans and all the TV and all the attention on this rivalry. It's going to create a great game Friday that we're tonight that we got to be ready to go for.
Coach, I know you might not be able to share a whole lot about this, but is there anything you can tell us about Brady Dunlap's availability or lack thereof tonight?
I think he's progressing towards the point where we're hoping he's going to be able to give it a go.
Well, we hope he's out there. Let me ask you one more, just if he's not there. Yep. Do you think you guys go with 8 again, considering you survived the foul trouble that was mounting there for a while Tuesday night?
It was funny. It was tough managing. Well, it wasn't funny in the moment, but it's tough managing all those fouls. And then you're also, all year we've had such great depth where we have had foul trouble, but we've never really come to it like we came to on Tuesday night. And sure enough, at one point I turned to Phil Gaetano right to my left. I said, of all the games in which we are pressed against foul trouble, it's the one game where we don't have 8, where we don't have our 9, because, that's been the iron 9 all year, and we're playing, the stats are amazing with, 6 guys and, in double figures, and a 7th, being Ishan Sharma, and then, Paul Etienne and Brady have been fantastic at, throughout this year. But we've really differentiate ourselves in playing that true 9-man rotation, which Coach had never done in his career. And of course, the one game where we're down to 8, it's a game we're in foul trouble and we're shuffling guys in and out and trying to get guys off for defense if they have fouls. So, I think, we found a good groove there with our 9. And then, obviously our guys were able to adjust and step up, with Brady being down on Tuesday.
It's funny because I felt like with Josh that his frustration was mounting with the officials. Obviously, that's a conversation that he's had in one way or another all year. With you guys outscoring opponents in the paint every game and somehow getting called for more fouls every game, and that was really piling up in the first half, early in the second. And I felt like he was getting closer with the officials to the line that I had seen him in, at least in person. And at the time I was sitting up in the stands. I was like, you know what? You tell him, Josh, take one. It'll be worth it. In the end, winning by only 3 points, I'm glad he didn't take a tee because that might have burned him in the end.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say about the refs because I don't know if either. I don't know if Coach it was on anyone's Christmas card list, and I don't know if I don't know if any of those refs, the ref assigners, got any Hanukkah presents from Coach. So I'll leave. But you know what? I think coaches and referees, just like Dayton and SLU, are natural rivals. I think coaches and referees are what they call natural rivals.
Yes.
It's the Billikens and Dayton tonight. We'll have it for you here on KMOX. Bob Ramsey, Earl Austin Jr. will have the call. 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock tip from Chaffetz Arena. Coach Zach Bovair with us. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. Best of luck this evening. Enjoy the moment and the experience, and hopefully we'll catch up again with you down the line.
Absolutely. Roll Bills.
All right, very good. That is Coach Zach Bovair joining us on the program. We got to get one more break in. We'll come back, and we'll wrap up this edition of the program. I want to get Nate's thoughts on another prominent member of City SC moving on to another team and what that means for the club here moving forward. Got just a few minutes left. We'll get to that coming up in just a moment as you're locked to the Gashouse Gang here on KMOX.
KMOX, celebrating 100 years. Presented by Purina, your pet, our passion. Now, a KMOX pioneer.
With his deep, resonant voice and flawless delivery, John McCormick became the sound that millions heard as the day came to a close. Affectionately known as the man who walks and talks at midnight, McCormick brought you a calm, dignified presence to KMOX's late night hours. A throwback to the golden age of radio announcers.
Good morning, everyone. John McCormick speaking, the man who walks and talks at midnight. From our little part of the world, the city of St. Louis, here comes 50,000 clear channel red-hot watts of the wide horizon late-night signal of radio.
Listeners across the country tuned in to hear that unmistakable voice, a steady, comforting companion whose elegance and precision helped shape KMOX's nighttime identity for generations. John McCormick, a KMOX pioneer.
Big game, big screen, big energy at Ballpark Village, Sunday, February 8th. Enjoy the big game like you're in the end zone, featuring in-arena touchdown celebrations, band cams, contest VIP packages, and more, hosted by RDJ and DJ Dex. Save up to $10 on tickets with code KMOX. Tickets and event details at stlballparkvillage.com/events. For more information, KMOX.com/events.
Glover here for my friends at Cantor Injury Law. Cantor is local, and we're here doing the work every day. We're right here in St. Louis, and we're ready to fight for you. CantorInjuryLaw.com or call 314-628-9999.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be solely based on advertisements.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Dreaming of summer with this crazy weather? Me too. And nothing says summer like the Muni, which means it's officially time to start planning your nights under the stars. Good news, Muni season tickets are on sale now. The 2026 season includes Hairspray, Shrek the Musical, South Pacific, Disney's Newsies, Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations, Meet Me in St. Louis, and Something Rotten. See all 7 shows starting at only $126. For tickets, visit muni.org.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical doctor, she is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
The new era of UFC on Paramount Plus continues. Live from Australia. Featherweight champ Alexander Volkanovski.
He is an animal.
Defends his belt at home in an explosive rematch against Diego Lopez.
You gotta be kidding me.
And the always dangerous Dan Hooker throws down with powerhouse Benoit Saint-Denis in a high-action lightweight showdown.
There's never been anything like this.
UFC 325, Saturday, January 31st, only on Paramount Plus.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage, no medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Now back to the Gashouse Gang, sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, Overhead Tour Company of St. Louis, on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Only have a couple minutes left on this edition of the program. Alongside Nate Gatter, I'm Matt Pauley. Appreciate you being with us. We got a text message from the 413 saying they're having a watch party for SLU to watch Deion Brown in a small Massachusetts town of Great Barrington. That's how big this game is. That's awesome to hear. So SLU watch parties across the country going on tonight. Of course, you'll be able to hear it right here on KMOX. Nate, again, only have a couple minutes left, so this is not going to be an in-depth conversation by any stretch of the mind, but interesting week when it comes to the roster for City SC. Today we found out that they are bringing in a one-time Hermann Trophy winner in Dante Pavara. They've also signed Mamadou Fall and Rafael Santos in the last week. But those news items certainly pale in comparison to the fact that the team officially moved on from Klaus. And it's not that long ago that it was the first year for this team and everything was exciting and we were falling in love with a bunch of players who had big personalities and big moments. And now it just feels like all those guys, maybe except for Berkey, have found a different home. And it's a weird spot to be for an organization.
Yeah, especially because, through no fault of his own and just, not so good fortune personally, Edward Leuven has not been able to be on the field or with the team even as consistently as he would like. So that core sort of does feel like it's kind of slipping away. And on top of that, this is outside of the core leaving, but Henry Kessler just signing with Charlotte also, I think, it stings a lot. It would have been one thing to lose him as a free agent to Europe, to lose him to another MLS team is painful. I think it's too soon to say, right? I mean, you're talking about a new sporting director, a new head coach, both of which were hired a little later than I think would have been ideal in this cycle. So they're figuring things out. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a transitional year and, it's a shame. And I think City's figuring out their messaging, right? They're trying to figure out how to market that because on the one hand, we hear this language about a dawn of a new era. On the other hand, we hear about continuing to rise. And I don't know what continuing to rise means in that context. There hasn't been a lot of rising recently, but one way or the other, I think City's going to have to figure out what their new identity is on and off the pitch. And so in some ways, it feels like there are similarities between City and the Cardinals, albeit the fact that the Cardinals transition has been planned out much more painstakingly over a longer period of time. And for City, it's been thrown together just a little bit more and kind of I shouldn't say thrown together, but it's been happening a little bit more quickly and in this one off season that's kind of condensed. But they're sort of in similar positions in that this year is going to be a lot of seeing what you have and seeing what you need and going from there.
Nate, enjoy the game tonight.
I plan to, sir. I plan to.
That's Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. This has been the Gashouse Gang, the Dave Glover Show. On the way next on KMOX.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions.